Hey guys, well today I thought I'd tackle the Paramount Activity movies, because I recently got into bits where I was tackling various movies that I'd heard a lot of people talk about and such. And this was one of the titles that I decided to experiment with, mostly thanks to Zero Rack. Yeah, thanks Z-Man. Anyway, so my overall thoughts on the franchise was that when I first heard of the premise, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a nice premise and all, but how can you keep doing it over and over? And haven't we kind of seen this bit about spirits in a house torturing people and they try and deal with it before, you know? And that's exactly what I thought when I saw the original movie. Nice, but we've seen it before. But then I started seeing the other movies, and then I go, oh, okay, I get it now. Right. But I should point out one thing. I have not seen the Japanese film that kind of is like an unofficial part of this franchise, mostly because on the site that I use to stream movies, it didn't have English subtitles, so I decided to forget it. It doesn't matter, especially since this film doesn't fit in the franchise anyway. So, there you go. Going into the first movie, well, as I stated, we have pretty much seen everything in this before, because this is just a found footage movie that's kind of just like a YouTuber broadcasting from within his own house, aka me, but there's spirits in the house, you know, and then the husband and wife are dealing with all the typical things like a husband and wife would go through, both personal and with the spirit attacks, you know. And we've all seen it before, but I didn't mind really seeing it again. Even though I do kind of sympathize with the people that criticize the movie with that very issue. But I have to admit, I really did get spooked, even though I was pretty certain I knew what was coming, because all those instances where the spirit gradually gets angrier and angrier, and, you know, bits where Katie is standing over her husband and just sitting there, or when we hear the spirit coming up the stairs, I was getting nervous. Heck, I actually took the Wimp's way out and hit escape so the movie wasn't full screen, so I could just feel a little safer, you know? What can I say? And I also like how they threw in the backstory of Katie having trouble with these spirits, or implied to have trouble with these spirits when she's younger. You know? So, I did enjoy it, but as I stated, we have kind of seen it before, so to be fair, I'm going to go 3 personal, 4 critique, but if I was to rate this on Amazon, I'd go 4, okay? Moving into Paranormal Activity 2, and this is where I began to really understand where the series was going, because at first I was like, why are they making a prequel to the original? You know, how are we going to see this connect, and who are these people? But then they established that we're looking at Katie's sister and her family, and then we get more of the backstory, and the spirits are doing even crazier stuff, and how it's actually a companion to the original, and I was like, whoa, that's very creative, nice storytelling, and I actually fell for this cast a lot more than I did for Katie and Micah, you know, because, if you're just going to be arguing with each other constantly about how to deal with the spirits and the camera, that'll get annoying after a while, but here it's multiple generations of people, and how there's also a stepdad put into the equation, along with hearing about the backstory and shifting between the types of camera focus that is going on, because I really enjoyed how they go from stationary cameras planted throughout the house in some situations to various handheld cameras, so you never really knew what to expect, and just it was one heck of a great ride, you know? It was just a lot of fun, and I also liked how they threw in typical home life situations, you know, not being too happy with how the maid is cleaning up the house and such, the teenage daughter hooking up with various people. It was a lot of fun. My only real gripe with this movie was that possibly it's a little too long. that's it, and that I didn't really have a good idea as to what its purpose was when I started, but once I learned that purpose, boom. So this one, I think I'm going to give 4.5, but if I rewatch it constantly, it's going to drop down on the scale. Right. Moving on to Paranormal Activity 3. Now, a lot of people out there seem to really like this one, but I honestly didn't as much. Now, I do appreciate what the movie was trying to do, trying to explain the backstory to Katie and her sister even more, and taking on the very interesting challenge of putting the cameras bits earlier in the history of video cameras and such. That was a very interesting thing to do. You know, and I do applaud them for the measures that they had to take and admitting that the video bits aren't as good. But, it just felt like a huge jump, you know, doing a companion to the first one and then doing another prequel. That did kind of get to me because I was hoping that it would actually be a sequel, especially since Katie had kidnapped Hunter at the end of number 2. Yeah. And the characters didn't feel like as, not identifiable, but I had a tough time feeling for them in this movie. And like the ending of the movie, now that's not a completely bad ending, let me tell you, but like I could have sworn Katie mentioned that her original house had like burned down, you know? And if all this video stuff is around, how is it that neither of them remember what happened? Now it could be that I missed that little bit of dialogue in the movies, you know, because since it's all one big story, you'll tend to forget a few details, but... And one thing that isn't a true dislike, you know how, the husband is able to solve the problem of not having a big enough lens by, partially dismantling the fan and getting it to do an improvised pan, you know? That is pretty creative, but think about this. The film that is quote-unquote retro is the first one to show panning of a camera? That was just odd to me. So, I did enjoy bits of it, but I don't really like this one as much. I'm gonna give it 3, but if you guys enjoy it, hey, go right ahead. Nothing wrong with that in my mind, I just didn't enjoy it as much as you guys. Paranormal Activity 4, well, now we've got the reverse. Most people out there, or at least most critics, didn't like it, but I really liked it, because we finally got the sequel that I had really wanted, investigating a little bit into what happened to Kate and Hunter, although we really only get stuff that happened with Kate rather than Hunter. Now, I know that they imply the young boy, not Robbie, but the other kid, I can't remember his name right now, to be Hunter, because, like, you know how he's talking to, like, the fireplace, or the imaginary Toby, who we see his silhouette in a couple of bits, that his name's not Hunter, but I don't know, that little story arc didn't make that much sense. It wouldn't have made more sense for Robbie to kind of be Hunter, huh? So yeah, that was a big issue I had, but almost everything else I liked, because I liked how this time we had a younger female protagonist, and I also enjoyed all the issues that the family was going through. It is kind of typical teenage stuff, but what can I say? I'm willing to be entertained by quite a lot of stuff, as you guys have seen with my diverse DVD collection and all the reality shows I watch, which reminds me I gotta make a new DVD and Blu-ray video. It's been a while, and whatever, I'm not here to talk about that. nothing that much more I could say, except for that ending. Not bad. I didn't expect them to do what they did there, let me tell you. And hopefully we can learn a little bit more about what this particular Fallout will be in the next sequel. 4, I think. And then Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. I'm on the fence with this one, because on the one hand, I did appreciate how different it was trying to be, but on the other hand, I kind of dislike it for that very same reason, because it doesn't relate to the others that much. It just seems like they were trying to make a couple more bucks with this one, and hang on, let me look at the stats here. I'm pretty sure this one made a lot... yeah, it did. Yeah, this one made a lot less than the ones that came before it. It's actually the only one that didn't break the $100 million barrier. I mean, like, it's not entirely its fault, because given how different it is, and not really featuring any of the original cast, minus one person in a cameo, that will put some people off, but I did find myself enjoying it nonetheless, because, like, the humor that they were trying to put in there with the teenagers getting into those situations, that was fun. And I also like the new abilities that was put in by the spirit, you know, and like how we were actually able to see somebody fully do a lot of stuff when the spirit is possessed into them, you know, because like in the other ones, all we got was Katie murdering 3 people, and then Katie's stepfather getting killed by somebody, I forget who it is now, and then Alex in the 4th one disappearing. But here, you know, we've got the kid teleporting, causing havoc, being responsible for the death of a couple of his friends, you know? Not bad. But, the ending of this movie, yeah, I've got a big problem with that, because, okay, they established that this movie takes place a good amount after the 2nd movie, given how, that girl at the end of the 2nd one, Allie, I think her name is still alive, so, given that they visit the house that's at the end of the 3rd one, you would assume that this is close to when the events of the 4th one happened, but why haven't the police, you know, done anything to the house? Oh, wait a minute. Actually, sorry, I forgot that the house at the end of the 4th one is different from the 3rd one. Sorry about that. And then, like, that whole bit where, one of the guys gets teleported back in time to the end of the 1st one? Well, the events that you had there don't add up, because at the end of the 1st one, Micah runs after Kate, and within 6 or 7 seconds, he gets thrown right back at the camera, but the whole thing in the kitchen took just over that time, so there's no way that the spirit, even if it jumped through the floors or everything, could have thrown Micah's body back at the camera in that amount of time. Just so, what up with that? And the cliffhanger that was at in the post-credit scene of the 4th one wasn't really explained in this one that much, other than it would be set in a Spanish setting. So I have to admit, as its own particular movie, it's not bad by any stretch, but if you compare it to the others, it's definitely got quite a few problems, mostly thanks to that darn ending, yeah. I think you could have done that a little bit better, you know? Although it does seem like they're going to be bringing back various elements of this into the next movie. I'm not entirely sure. I'm doing everything I can to not get spoilers for this movie until it's out, and then I might investigate into it a little. Free for this one, and I'm just going to call it quits at that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think I was a little repetitive, but if you've seen these movies, I think you know how I felt, and yeah, see ya.